Today's workshop is HireAbility Vermont's Summer Career Exploration Program. I'm excited to introduce you to Sam Bernstein, participant in Summer Careers Exploration Program, Tracey Dolan, Sam's parent, Tara Howe, HireAbility Transition Program Manager, and Kara Haynes, HireAbility Transition Program Associate Manager. Thank you so much for joining us today.
So good morning, everybody. I'm Tara Howe. I'm the Transition Program Manager from HireAbility. I use pronouns she and her. And Kara and I are here today to talk a little bit about just the overview of the program before we hand it off to our wonderful guests, Sam and Tracey. So just to say a little bit, next slide, please. We wanted to tell you a little bit, first of all, about HireAbility Vermont in the event you haven't experienced or learned about HireAbility yet. So on the transition side, because we serve individuals as young as 14, but all the way as long as they want to work. So it could be into their 80s and beyond. But for individuals with disabilities, on the transition side, we have transition counselors who serve youth both in high school and beyond up to the age of 24. And the idea behind that is so that we can serve these students, and these are students on IEPs and 504, so somebody with a documented disability, to help support them as they think about employment, as they think about careers, to help explore and learn more. So just to say a little bit more about that, so transition counselors, there's 26 of them across the state. We are a statewide program, and they are connected to all the high schools in their area. We work directly with special educators, could be guidance counselors, could be nurses, anybody who is holding those IEPs and 504s and working with individuals with disabilities, and we connect with them directly to be able to introduce services and see if students are interested. I also want to say that individuals may work with HireAbility for as long as they choose. It is a voluntary program, so it is not a requirement, though we always want to make sure that students are introduced so that they can make an informed choice about whether or not they do want to connect with us. So the focus is on both the needs right now. So for some students, it might be getting that first job. It might be getting out into the community and having that first experience, doing a little exploration. And it's also thinking about, where do you want to go? What are you visioning? What do you want your future to look like? So being able to think above and beyond, and really be able to start to think about, where do you want to be after high school? How do you want to get there? And how can we support you in that process? So this connection in high school, we support career exploration, work readiness, having work experiences, self-advocacy is a big piece of that. And again, of course, post-secondary exploration. And if you'd want more information for parents, right on our HireAbility website, there's some more information there. Next slide. So just to get a little bit into summer career exploration at this point, I wanted to say about the overarching goals. And so when I talk about pre-employment transition services, so we really think about those students who are very new to the world of work. They're still trying to figure out kind of what they might be interested in, want to explore a little bit, those work readiness skills. So those skills that could really transfer to any job to be successful in the workplace. And also to start to build those self-advocacy skills. How do you ask for help if you need accommodations? And so we created this program to be able to provide that opportunity. Students gain both in the paid work experience, so they earn minimum wage, and then they also are part of a class, so they're with other students learning right alongside around the work readiness skills, being able to check in about their work experience, wherever that might be, it's in their career of interest, and to really enhance those job readiness skills. So it's both a paid work experience and classroom portion that really focuses on curriculum and supports the student in their work experience. Next slide, please. And so there was a question in the chat about do students need to be able to read? So we have, depending upon the needs of the students, because every student has individualized needs, we can have so much support staff that are providing any accommodations that are needed. So we are always able to figure that out. So just to say a little bit about the story of the Summer Career Exploration Program. So we started in the summer of 2021. We were still amid the pandemic, and Cara, coming from the field, had that experience in real time about, are we going to be able to do it in person? Are we not going to be able to do it in person? And yay, we were able to do it in person. And what we found is that there was a real need, especially at that time, for students to get connected to the community again, to be out in the community, having those experiences, exploring. So we have successfully implemented programs during both summer 2021 and summer 2022, and we are in the process of planning for summer 2023. We are in full efforts to identify students who might be interested in the program. And these are students that the transition counselors have begun to know or have been working with through the schools. Over these last 2 years, we've served 270 students statewide in the program, and they've successfully completed the program. And in response to that question before about the one-to-one, we can do one-to-one or group support depending on what the needs of the student is. We want to be sure that all students are included, and so be able to provide the level of support that a student needs to be successful in the program. We have also engaged with almost 200 employers. As I mentioned, the career interest, we want to make sure that the experience the students having is in an area of interest. So when students apply, they choose 3 different areas of interest that they might like to explore. And then from this experience, though it's not the expectation when we set up a paid work experience for a student to be hired, 67 students had been offered competitive integrated employment after completing the program. So about 25% of the students who participated were offered a position. And the other significant piece, I had mentioned that we work with students starting as early as the age of 14 through the age of 24. This was actually a recent change because in the past, when students graduated from high school, they would transition to a general counselor. Now the transition counselors continue to work with them as they make that transition from high school to post-high school, whatever that might be. And part of the reason we did that is that we were finding that we were losing some of those connections, and we want to make sure that we're able to support those students through that transition. And when I say students, I mean students and families, of course, right? Because transition is truly a family system experience. And with the Summer Career Exploration Program and those supports, we're finding from year 1 that 81% of those students a year afterwards were still engaging with HireAbility and gaining services and continuing to work on career exploration and moving forward. Next slide. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the business spaces of SCEP, just to give you a sense of who has engaged with us. And I feel like faces saying so much more than words. So here we go. So different employers who've engaged with us: Southwest Vermont Medical Center, White Rock Design, Vermont State Parks, Rhythm Hollow Stables. We have some great quotes from our employers. It was an amazing experience. Our student was a great fit. Teaching brought a new energy to our work. The experience working with HireAbility and the youth was great. I would be interested in more people working in the parks program, both young and old, for experiences. We'll hang the plaque for everyone to see as a reminder of the partnership, along with a reminder of the great work both organizations provide to assist people to learn and grow. So those plaques that they're sharing, one of our business account managers actually created those, and they are made with Vermont wood. So it's really nice to be able to share that and show our appreciation. Next slide. Here's another employer. Our collaboration has been seamless. We're very proud to be a participant in the HireAbility Vermont Summer Career Exploration Program. Next, thank you. Here's even more. As I said, we had almost 200. So Berkshire Family YMCA, Lake Perrin, Manchester Parks and Recreation, Burke Mountain. Lots of smiles, lots of smiles. Northshire Living, it was a great experience. We were thrilled. What's nice as a business owner is that you can set it up for your needs and what works for you. And just to kind of highlight on that side, so we see both student and employer as customers. So making sure that the student is absolutely getting what they need. They have specific goals that they're working on, that we're checking in and we're supporting. And the employer is also clear on what those goals are, and they're working together to help that student move forward. Employers can help make this program so successful. Here's some other images here. We have Lux Brush Painting, Kate's Food Truck, which you're going to hear more about from Sam, and Morgan Horse Farm. Again, Echo Leahy Center Animal Care, Franklin Homestead and Carriage House, Black Knight Comics. And the reason that I share all of these images is really to give you a sense of, again, very diverse employers to really accommodate and meet what the students' interests are. Next slide. It was a gift to have Shelby assisting in our program. HireAbility Vermont made the process and planning so easy from start to finish. So that's one of the businesses sharing about their experience. We have Springfield Library, Southern Vermont Arts Center, and Mary Johnson Children's Center. And then I just wanted to share this because what we learn along the way is always so interesting. So this actually came from a business account manager, and I'm just going to summarize it a little bit. Essentially, one of the students was very, very interested in the idea of being a mascot. And in Vermont, there aren't a ton of opportunities in that particular area. And lo and behold, they were able to find a connection where there was a mascot position available. And so they worked together and they were able to set up this opportunity. And the student was thrilled. Next slide. And I think I'm actually going to hand it over to Cara, who's going to talk a little bit about Peter.
So this was a young man from Southern Vermont who worked at Bombazine State Park. He was able, with the support of a one-to-one summer support staff, access his dream job of working outside at a state park. He was able to identify that he learned a lot about the history of the park and both Lake Bombazine and nearby Glen Lake. And he liked helping people out, boat rentals, giving directions, working with the firewood. And he would definitely recommend the program to other students. His parents were really trying to find a place for Peter to be successful in his transitioning to the end of his time in high school. And they recognized that he was warmly welcomed as a member of park staff. They were kind, they were inclusive, and they couldn't be more pleased with his experience. And he was outside all day, which he loved. And I heard a rumor that this young man actually is one of the students that is going to be offered a job for the coming summer because of how successful he was this past summer as part of our program.
All right. So we provided just the overview, a little bit about the successes and the data, and you met some employers and a little bit about one of the students. Most important, we have our guest, Sam Bernstein, and their mom, Tracey. And Sam and Tracey, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to join you guys.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to ask a few questions, and certainly if people have questions, if you could put them in the chat as well, but I'm going to get things started. Are you ready, Sam?
Yep.
Wonderful. So I wondered if you could talk a little bit about your work experience that you had in the Summer Career Exploration Program.
During the program, I worked at Kate's Food Truck. Everybody there was everybody at Kate's Food Truck was very nice and accepting. There's other kids my age there. They weren't part of the program, but they were there. They would help me out when I had questions. And it was a great community to be in. And outside of the program, I did another job. It's called OCC, our Communities Chaos Camp. I was working with 6- and 7-year-olds, and yeah, I found a liking to both of them. I enjoy cooking. I enjoy hanging out with kids, and I had a really fun time overall.
Great. Sam, so why Kate's Food Truck?
Because I have been there a couple of times before, and I really like the food there, and the people were always nice, and I always had like an interest in cooking. Like I would cook with my grandma all the time, so
it was a good fit for truly that career exploration for you.
yeah.
Yeah. What do you think after having the experience? Where did you kind of land? Is it still an interest? Are you thinking about other things at this point? Tell us a little bit about that.
I am thinking about cooking still. I'm also thinking about like maybe being a preschool teacher. There is another organization connected to my school called Essex Tech. They give like different classes where you can learn hands-on. So there's like cooking classes, preschool classes, and yeah. So I am thinking about either being a preschool teacher or cooking.
That's great. And then the other piece, the curriculum portion, the being in the class, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that. What did you kind of walk away with from that experience?
I don't remember a lot of the things from the classes, but the main thing that I do remember is we talked about like safety and like potential dangers of work places. Like in the kitchen, there was like we almost night about that, and like there could be like food on the ground, grease, and like stuff like that. So we always like learned how to like look out for potential dangers to stay safe while working.
Yeah, yeah. And were there other students in there with you in that class?
Yes, there's other students. Everyone was very nice, and happy to be there. All the counselors there, they were very nice. And a fun thing about the class was like the very last class we had like a party day where there was like ice cream, and yeah,
It was a nice
don't
celebration.
have too much though.
Absolutely, absolutely. What did you like best about the summer program, Sam?
What I liked best was trying new things and learning new things about work. Like I learned things about cooking that I didn't know before. And I found that really useful to know how to cook things because, well, it's a good skill just to have. Like, everybody needs to eat, and I don't think anybody would like microwave food, so knowing how to cook and the techniques of how to cook are
Absolutely,
important to know.
absolutely. Yeah. What do you think was the hardest part of the program? And then how did you manage it?
The hardest part was, this is a tough question, but one of the hardest parts for me was probably like getting the materials that I needed, because like a lot of this stuff is like up high and I'm not that tall, so I found like a step stool that I used to get the stuff.
Yeah. Did the staff there help you out when you asked for help?
Yes,
You
they
found
were very
helpful.
nice and helping.
Nice. Is it okay if I ask your mom a question too?
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Tracey, I wondered if you could also share what you really appreciated about the program.
Yeah, it was a great program. Before Sam started her job, she was nervous because she had never had a job before. And she said, you know, I'm really nervous. I don't want to mess up. And then by the end, she was really confident, you know, going to work. Kate's staff was really supportive. And then there's so many parts that were helpful. I mean, the way they connected her to a local business that was nearby. And the Thursday classes, her dad and I worked during those times. So sometimes she couldn't get there with us, and they would send a car to have her picked up. And they were very safe about it, right? I think they even told you what to look for.
They told me that there's like a green or blue sticker like in the window somewhere, and to look for that, because like that's how I knew that they were the person that was supposed to pick me up.
Yeah, so they offered her transportation, which was great. And didn't they feed you at class too?
Yeah, they would feed us lunch. Yeah.
So there was just, I mean, all those little thoughtful things, you know, was really handy. But overall, just the confidence, I think, you know, that she gained. I feel like next summer, if she wanted to work there or somewhere else, I don't think she would. You feel as nervous about getting a job now? No.
No.
Yeah.
Like another thing about like the lunch, if like anybody has any allergies, just tell them. They will know for next time, and then they will like have like alternate food. Like there was like somebody who was gluten free, so they bring and like gluten free pizza, gluten free pasta, for that individual. So they are very flexible, and I found that very nice and accepting.
Yeah, and at the job, one of Sam's goals was also to just make more kind of, you know, friendships or acquaintances. And how was that at the job?
Oh, that was amazing. Everybody was so nice. Everybody was very talkative. And yeah, I enjoyed it. People were nice. It was easy for me to make friends. And yeah, I made a couple of friends in the program.
That's great. That's great.
Both in classes and in the food truck.
So this is a question for both of you. What suggestions would you make to everyone listening about the summer program?
Like if people are interested, the families, should they try it?
They should definitely try it. Like my counselor was also Sam, was a different Sam, and she was really nice when we first met. Like we just like sat down and she like talked to me about what I'd be interested in doing or trying. And then she would go around like looking, and she went around looking for like places that were close by to where I live for me to do what I loved, which was cooking.
Yeah, I would strongly suggest anyone look into it. I think, like you mentioned, all different kind of jobs, and it's just, you know, really it's like any other summer job, but it's just that little extra support to get into it. And those classes too, I think also they worked on setting work goals.
Yeah.
And I just think all of that made it really good. I think it would be great for families to look into it. I after she was in it, I was telling everybody about it. I'm like, I don't know if you guys know, but there's this great program. I was telling everybody. I was like a walking advertisement for it. Honestly, I couldn't believe how so completely successful it was. Like, you know, Sam, I already know that Sam has all the competence and confidence to do it, but I don't think she knew it. And now, you know, I think she knows it now too. Yeah.
Sam, what do you think you walked away with from it? Like, what are all the things that you think you learned from that experience?
Well, I learned that I could be to be like more confident in myself, because like I wasn't really confident in myself then, but everybody was like so nice and accepting, which made me feel good and made me accept myself more.
That's great. That's great. So, Cara, is there anything that you wanted to add?
I don't think so. Thank you for sharing your stories. And just as a reminder, Sam is a lovely human who agreed to be with us today, but there are dozens and dozens of other stories just like Sam's of youth who, you know, had their first jobs when perhaps they or their family were trying to figure out how to make that happen for them in a successful way. And I'm just glad that we were able to be part of Sam's story.
Looks like there's some questions.
Yeah, do you want me to go through them, Tara?
That would be, I would appreciate that, Karen. That would be great.
Okay, so first of all, Sam, there's a comment here. You are very impressive. It was great to hear about your experience. So thank you for sharing that. And I really love Kate's food too. It's one of my favorite places to go. So with the questions, what are the age requirements for participation in this program?
Right. So we do need to think about labor laws, because there are certain things that students can or can't do. But with that in consideration, typically starting at 9th grade. So somebody who is 9th grade, we say as early as 14. We also want to be thoughtful about, you know, it is a commitment of time. It's going to be a 5-week experience that students could have 3 to 5 weeks of the paid work experience. Yes.
Okay, I was going to ask that with logistics. So they are about 3 to 5 weeks long. And so it differs, you know, according to, and about how many hours of work do the students usually do per week?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, so 3 to 5 weeks in terms of the paid work experience. The curriculum goes on the full 5 weeks. Just to be really clear on that, I think that consistency and being able to be with other students during that 5 weeks and the work that they do together is really significant. In terms of the amount of hours, so we look for a minimum of 10 hours a week with a combined between the curriculum and the work experience. And so students are also paid for their time in the curriculum class because they are focused and they are learning skills, and it's very involved. So they are paid for all of their time, not just at the work site, but a minimum of 10.
And we could just add that I think Sam often did more than 10 hours a week, right? Because sometimes you worked a few shifts of 4 or 6 hours. Yep. So it also can go beyond that.
Absolutely. Yep.
And
I think we
given
did
that,
up to 30, up to 32, I think was the max.
oh, that is a lot of hours. So given that the
It's really
jobs are,
it's varied by the student, and also the other consideration too is depending on the student's interests and the work site. There's a lot of different factors in that, right? In terms of what's available, because we want students to be engaging in experiences where they're very just that, engaging and active, and not just sitting there. There's always specific goals that they're working on. They've got specific skills they're working on, and they have specific tasks. So it's a bit of a puzzle in terms of what works best for the student, what's going to work with the employer, where are their interests. And that's what each youth team helps to figure out.
and given that the job sites are all over the place, where does the class take place?
That's a great question. It does vary by district. Many of the districts have utilized, say, the CCV site, Community College of Vermont site that might be available. They may have met at school. They may have met at the HireAbility office, or they might do a combination of virtual and in person. It depends upon the office.
Great. Let me go through some of the other questions. Can people with high support needs be part of this program? For example, someone who has one-to-one support all day in high school.
I think it's certainly something that we can talk about more, because again, we are very inclusive. So we can have summer support staff. So to say absolutely yes, when I don't know the student and I don't know the situation, but I think absolutely let's have a conversation. I think the important piece, if there's anybody on here who their student has not yet connected with HireAbility, you have a couple of different options, because I think that was also a question, Karen. There's a couple different ways. So typically, because there's no master list, understandably, of students who are on IEPs and 504, that's a confidential bit of information. So we've really relied upon the school to let us know, and it's in the transition plan about inviting outside adult agencies. And so that's typically how we learn about students. That does not mean that a parent can't reach out or a student can't reach out to us directly. We will typically connect back with the school, because in terms of the information, the documentation on like a copy of your IEP or 504, because we want to think about accommodations and such, we need to get that at some point. And we also always want to be working as a team and not be working in our own little silos over here. So making sure that we're working together, but you can certainly reach out directly. Again, it's a voluntary experience. So if the student wants to engage with us, we're open. And the door's never closed. Let me say that too, that at any point, if a student doesn't engage with us in high school or doesn't engage as a freshman, but decides to engage as a junior, or doesn't engage at all in high school, but engages with us post-high school, that's okay too. The door doesn't close.
And the time period specifically for this program, I'm assuming it's open now. When does it close? Because as you said, it's a puzzle having to fit all the interested students with employers and all of the logistics. So what is the time frame for application for this program?
So it's been a little varied in terms of so there's 12 districts across the state. We go by the Agency of Human Services districts. And so within those districts, there's actually a link that the transition counselor holds for the program. And then they can determine once the program is full. So it could be, it's open now, and it could be a month from now, it could be a little bit beyond, but that's typically kind of the timeline. It really depends upon how much engagement they're in and how much interest there is about how long it is open. We try to really be thoughtful because, as I was saying, it is really specific to each student. So we want to make sure the students who are in the program are getting the support and the everything that they need to be successful. So we try to be careful not to do 30 students in a district, right? We really want to be thoughtful. It's about 10 per district. And let me say the other piece is too, that there are some situations where either a student, say there's a senior who's already had these experiences and is actually ready for something very different. That doesn't mean we can't serve them over the summer. It's just outside of this program. And the same if there's a student who maybe isn't ready for that 10 hours a week, but would like to do something. There's also the potential for serving them, again, outside of the program. This is not the only service that HireAbility provides.
And the 3 to 5 weeks, is that like a July, August? Which 3
yes,
to 5?
Thank you for, that's a piece I missed. Thank you, Karen. So it also varies by district. And so in the application, it actually lists what weeks that program is going on. Most districts have looked at the week after 4th of July to start, and then the 5 weeks afterwards. Well, there's a few exceptions that are starting a little bit earlier.
And I would just, if I can just add into that, the other
Yeah.
thing that they learned about was, you know, because they get set up in a timesheet system because this is paid work. And so they had to learn how to, you know, log your time and put in your timesheet and just really helpful things like that. So that was part of it. And then getting the paycheck was nice.
Thank you.
And I would add that this is really designed to be one piece of a pathway. So whether this is the most intensive thing your student has done with us so far, or if they've already done one of our summer classes or in school doing some of our self-advocacy workshops, really one of the things that comes out of this is a what's next. What is your next step on the pathway, whether it's exploring Project Search or College Compass for after high school, whether it's helping you get a part-time job during the next school year. Really the question coming to the end of the program each summer is what's next. So thinking about it as part of the path, not the path itself.
So are there any more questions? Do you ever attend a student's IEP meeting as part of the STEP planning?
So summer career exploration program. So I want to talk just in HireAbility in general. So for HireAbility, we are absolutely invited to the IEP, and the parent obviously gives consent before we're actually invited to attend, and that's part of the process. And we can introduce services there. We may also go to an IEP meeting if there's a student that we're already working with and we want to provide updates. To be perfectly transparent, we cannot go to absolutely every IEP that exists, or our staff would only go to IEPs. But we make every effort to work with special educators and families to ensure that we're getting connected to the students in whatever way, and that everybody has the information to be able to make an informed decision about HireAbility.
So yes, parents should be aware that when the IEP meeting is a transition meeting, adult service providers should absolutely be invited, when the topic is relevant. So as Tara said, HireAbility should be at the meeting when it is a topic that is relevant to them. And depending on the needs of your young person, you could be having, staff from a designated agency to talk about adult services. But it is all part of transition planning that providers who provide adult services absolutely should be invited to your child's IEP meeting. And as Tara said, they have to be invited. So sometimes the parent does have to remind the school team that is a specific provider that you would like at your young person's IEP meeting.
Yes.
So are there any questions? Any other questions? Well, there's another comment for you, Sam. So thank you, Sam, for telling us about your summer job. Now I want to go to Kate's food truck. You have made me want to try this with my son. Thank you so much. You inspire us to try new things too. Okay. Oh, I see your hand is up. Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. This has been wonderful. I'm a school counselor, and so I got pulled away when you were talking about the application process, and I'm assuming that goes through the youth employment or the, like, my kid's HireAbility person for the district.
Transition counselor, right? Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that
great.
And if any of you are not sure who the transition counselor who is serving that high school that your student is at, you're welcome to reach out to me and I can help make that connection. I'll put my email address in the chat and help you with that.
Okay. So
And
any,
did we hear, I'm so
right.
sorry, did we hear the dates that this is like when it happens in the summer? Are there specific dates,
So,
or does it depend on the
yeah,
district?
so we had made every year we learn something new. And so this year we've made a little bit of a tweak to do an established 5 weeks. And we also let the districts determine what 5 weeks they are.
Yep.
So that, because some districts they found, for example, down in Bennington, Many of those schools actually finish a little bit on the earlier side, so they wanted to start earlier, so there wouldn't be maybe quite as much as break, while some of the other programs are starting July 10th. So it does vary a little bit depending upon what district.
Okay, so
Any other questions?
are there any other questions?
I guess I'm just wondering, like, because it starts with career exploration, right? And so, and then they sort of just decide on, like, and then through that process, you sort of find some employers that might be a good fit and explore those options, right? So it's part exploration and then part actual experience.
Yeah, because I think it's not just talking about it, it's that actual being in the space, right? The experiential part of it is what really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And I feel like that, whether it's employment or even post-secondary education, unless you can actually be in that space and know what that means and experience it and learn through that. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
I think there was there another question there?
Oh, okay, from Kathleen, do you work with students in private placements and with ascending school as well?
Are you, we can talk more in terms of what you're referencing. Essentially, we can work with anybody who has a disability in terms of what that process looks like. It's really what the need is of the student. So if you want to have a conversation offline, I'm happy to talk more about that, because I think let's talk. Let's talk.
Okay, and I see a hand up, R. Gardner.
Hi, I just want to revisit if a student has a one-on-one,
Mhm.
would HireAbility provide that staff, or would a school system provide that staff for a student to
That's
be
a-
in this program?
That's a great question. So we have the potential to hire somebody. There has been situations where a student has been very well connected to somebody throughout the year. And between the school and HireAbility, they made the determination like they had an extended school year, and that there was the potential for that person to continue with them. It happened on a few occasions. It's not consistent. We do have the potential. So we can figure it out, is what. I hate to say absolutes, because again, I want to be respectful of what the student needs.
Okay, and Ina Middleman, did you want to unmute yourself? Because I see you posted that you have a question. You need to unmute yourself.
Right. Okay, so I wanted to ask, my daughter, she's part of same college program in Burlington, and she already was part of last year after school HireAbility program in Rutland. So can she still do something or participate at least partially? I don't know if she can do full 5 weeks.
So I think, again, that's a great conversation for us to have offline. Is she connected to a transition counselor right now? You know?
Yes.
Okay, so I would encourage her and you to have a conversation directly with a transition counselor about whether or not this program is thinking about pre-employment transition services. So that kind of beginning more exploratory piece. There might be something that's a better fit for where she's at now. If she's already at Think College, there might be some other options. We have lots of options and lots of connections with partners so that we can offer a menu of options. So,
Okay, and Tara, there's still a couple of questions.
yeah.
Do you provide do you provide transportation?
That's such a good question. Okay, so I mentioned that puzzle, and transportation is a huge part of that puzzle. So we really look to everybody at the table to help us figure it out. We have provided transportation. We know that there's some communities where there's no transportation, and we are always looking to expand and look at opportunities. So yes, we can provide it, and we like to have a conversation with the family about possibilities as well. So it's really a team effort on how that works best.
Okay, there are some thank yous. So, and words of appreciation. Are there any last questions? Well, you can always contact Tara or the transition counselor in your school district with more questions. Could the transportation be part of a goal?
I think, again, Diane, let's have a conversation offline,
Yes.
because I think that's a bigger,
Yeah.
that might be like an independent living goal. We can
Yeah,
talk a little bit about.
yes. So, yes, there are specific parts about your transition IEP that can be looked at for your young person. So thank you to everyone. You will see a link, or I have put the link to the evaluation in the chat. Please take a few minutes to complete it so we can make improvements and also give feedback to our great presenters. We have many more interesting workshops coming up, and you can find details on the homepage of our website, vermontfamilynetwork.org, along with the links to previously recorded ones. We have tons of information on our website. Getting connected with us is easy. You can follow us on Facebook. You can join our Facebook page if you are a parent. We have closed Facebook groups for parents of children and adults with disabilities. You can sign up for monthly e-news or check out our YouTube channel. So we are here to help. Contact us by phone or email. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Before you close out, I was hoping we have a brief video of the summer career exploration program at one particular site we wanted to close it with. But before I do that, Sam and Tracey, is there anything else you'd like to say? I want to make sure you had space for that.
I have nothing else to say. Do you?
No, we're glad that we could share information.
Yeah, I strongly recommend this program to other people.
Thank you. And thank you so much for your time and joining us today. Really appreciated it. All
Yeah.
right. So to close out, if that's okay, we're going to show you a video and then we'll say goodbye.
The program here at Killington Resort is a great opportunity for the students to learn these life skills.
They really get a chance to see, I can do this. I can get a job and I can really put out quality work that I'm proud of.
It gives them the customer service and people skills that they're going to need no matter where they go, and essentially just setting them up for the future to be successful.
This is my first job. It's been going really well. I'm learning a lot of different things.
The cutting skills that I learned here, I think it will help me in the future be able to maybe become a chef or a baker.
I just like working with people, and I learned how to communicate better.
So the classroom session is really beneficial.
We normally, talk about our highs and lows and what we can learn from each other. So who would like to go first?
We talk about safety, how to be professional.
We talk about the stuff we've learned and new stuff that we're learning.
It's been a great experience. I've seen students go from being shy to wanting to be hands-on and take the lead. It puts a smile on your face to see them just changing and becoming such amazing people.
All right.
Well,
Thank
thank
you all.
you. Yeah, and goodbye.
Thank you.